So right now we got the new transmission in, the McLeod twin disc clutch. I had to cut a hole in the tunnel for the shifter. Apparently GM doesn't cut the hole on all of them. Like the Fords, they use an adapter plate depending on what transmission you get. So I had to do that, drill some holes. I need to put the shifter on still. New wiring harness is all in, all that's ran. I'm gonna need to make transmission cooler lines. Maybe reuse the factory coolers, maybe add our own. And then basically do everything in the interior still as far as center console, clutch pedals, hydraulics. So similar to the hole with the shifter that I had to cut, apparently GM doesn't have a provision on the manual or the auto cars for a hole for the pass-through for the master cylinder. So this pedal assembly has to go inside under the dash onto the firewall, and this line actually has to pass through the firewall to the reservoir for the brake master cylinder for the fluid. So I had to pull this whole panel out here that covers the firewall, the wiper stuff off, and I'm gonna have to cut a hole in the firewall where GM would normally have this pass through and basically have this grommet go through the hole and connect this into the reservoir to feed the clutch master cylinder on the new pedal assembly. The hydraulic line that actually goes down to the slave cylinder on the earlier models, it's all in the engine bay through the trans tunnel, but on the Gen 5 cars, it actually goes inside. So to do that, it's a bit of a process. The whole dash actually has to come out. The heater core, AC condenser, all that stuff has to get drained and come out with the factory line, because it actually goes under the dash and then through the tunnel to the slave cylinder and actually connects that pedal assembly on the inside. So what we're going to try and do is circumvent that with an aftermarket stainless steel braided line, which should give a little bit better pedal feel as well over the stock hard plastic line. But hopefully we don't have to do that. We're going to try and use this line and route it through the tunnel like we need to without removing all the dash, because the less you can take apart, the better it is as far as squeaks, rattles, and stuff going back together for the customer. So like we talked about before, the shifter hole didn't exist. So I basically used a factory image from the GM manual for like a shifter replacement on where to cut and where to put this in, and then had to drill holes for the factory mounting portion for the ring that secures this boot and makes everything seal up like factory. So this is an aftermarket Hurst shifter, and we've actually got an aftermarket knob with his car build number on it for the Trans Am stuff. And then we have to change out the automatic panel to that. Just got the shift boot installed, whatever word you want to use there. So I'm going to mock this up. I need to take this in the car and figure out, we also changed the actual shift linkage from the GM to a Hurst shift linkage. So I need to figure out how to make that work with the aftermarket shift boot. So we had the wiper cowl, firewall, panel, whatever you want to call it, out to run the hydraulics through, hook the master cylinder up to the brake fluid reservoir. Got all that back in. So now we are ready to put the blower back on. So I'm gonna pull the tape off, grease the heads a little bit just to help those O-rings slide, and then slide the blower back on, bolt it down, hook our coolant hoses up, and see where that leads us. Okay, so see, since I put that lube on there, she slides all nice and easy. Now ready to bolt her down. No wonder everything takes so dang long, you're using hand tools. You like my commentary about all know-it-alls? Some engineer's gonna tell me about the thermal dynamic capability of 6mm bolt. No, you gotta look serious. This is a drama shot. Why wouldn't you do this with a ratchet? I can hear the comments now. With the manual conversion, there's no provision for a manual trans cooler, so what we did was reuse the factory automatic trans cooler lines, adapted those to AN, and then made AN lines that go in and out of the top and bottom of the trans that go on the mechanical pump. So it'll keep the trans cool in case he does decide to do any road course or anything like that. Customer had an aftermarket rear end in here, 9-inch, which is great for holding power, but it was too noisy for him, so we put a stock differential in from a matching year ZL1 manual Camaro to get a little bit steeper gear ratio and a little bit better noise, vibration, and harmonics. We also, instead of using the stock drive shaft, went with a drive shaft shop 3.5-inch aluminum drive shaft. So that pretty much finishes everything up. There's a couple little brackets and panels we're going to put on once we get it fired and check everything over, but other than that, it's pretty much swapped, ready to go. We need to do all the flashing, ECU, BCM trickery, and hopefully she's happy with all the new wiring harness and modules. So that'll wrap up part 2 of this video. We'll have a driving, dyno, overview, whatever video once she's all done, but as far as that goes, the build goes, that's gonna wrap this one up.